Well, welcome to the Energizing America podcast, where we talk all things energy and communities and business and how the oil and gas industry is needed in industrial work. Excited to sit down with Clayton Rich, our sales and marketing manager here at Wescom. And Clayton, on my way down this morning, I was just reflecting a little bit that how in the world did we ever even meet? So why don't you introduce yourself to our to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, like I said, Clayton Rich, sales marketing manager for Wescom, and been in the industry since about 2007, 2008, and business major, communication major, and didn't really know what I wanted to do, and but just figured business was a good, well-rounded, degree, and hey, we'll figure out something from there. And got married right after college, and my father-in-law actually said he knew a person at a local electrical distributor here in town, and he said, "Hey, my daughter's marrying a guy, and he needs a job. So would you guys be interested in interviewing him?" And so sure. So that's how I kind of got involved. I started up with Milky Electric Works in Duluth there, and was there for about 9 years. And electrical and automation was very new to me, but definitely enjoyed getting out and went from there. And that's kind of when I first met you, and kind of stayed in touch as Wescom was growing in the Dakotas and down in the Permian, but newer to Duluth, and just kind of stayed in touch with yourself, and then decided, hey, time to do something here in Duluth, and here we are.
So how many years ago was that you and I, how long have you worked
I
at
think
Wescom?
Wescom for 3 years coming
3
up.
years? Okay.
And then so it was.
Isn't that crazy? So I remember the conversations at the old, affectionately, formerly known as a sewer pit,
Yep.
at our old office, and just conversing with you and wondering when in the world does a guy pull the pin to add a sales and marketing person to the team. And I think we talked a lot about, how do you compensate somebody like that? How do you gauge success? And 3 years later, I think we still have those conversations in our business. How in the world do we measure success? I think I would like to know from you, why business to business? What, other than you had a business degree, but what attracted you to keep going in that industry? Because a lot of our guests that we talk with, when we're talking about energy and careers and how to propel yourself forward, most folks don't start something and then stick with it.
Yeah.
What, 15 years later, still doing sales? Is it about 15 years?
Yep.
Well, 12 anyways.
12, 13, yep.
Yeah, so why? What drives you to keep doing it?
Yeah, for me, it's, the joys I get with our clientele, and especially the industrial market, is in the morning, I might be at North Shore Mine talking to the guys at the mine. An hour or two later, I'm talking to Silver Bay Water Treatment. A couple hours later, I'm at Canadian National, where they're shipping out taconite out of the harbor here. And then I might be talking to Moline Machinery, bakery equipment, and just the change of pace, the different clientele, and the variety of everything I get to see out in the field and people I meet. It's not to sit at a desk. There's certain people that can do that. I can't. I would be bald. My hair would be gone, and I couldn't do it. And so it's really getting out and seeing the different people in the different industries, and getting to see. We talk with the aerial lift bridge. We're working with them on a few things, and getting to ride up on top of the aerial lift bridge as an ore boat's going out. I mean, you look at the number of people that get to do that. You get to see things and experience, meet with different people that a good majority of the people don't get to do.
Yeah.
And it's the relationship aspect of where business to consumer is a lot more, you don't get to really know the people as well, and it's a quicker process, quicker sale, whereas business to business, as much as my clients may or may not like me, I pester them for a long time before things start to happen, and it's getting to know that relationship of, I want to know, where are you guys going this weekend? Hey, how was your ski trip? Hey, I see you got a new classic car. Hey, how's the fishing going? How's your family doing? It's the relationship aspect of the business to business that really drives me to continue down that path.
So is that why you think, it's interesting. I had a buddy out in the oil patch reach out to me actually yesterday morning, and he says, hey, I need to borrow some of your time. You're like a kingpin of marketing, and I need to figure out what you're doing because I got an open schedule starting in March. And I text him back and I was like, hey, sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not a kingpin of marketing. I have no idea what we're doing with sales and marketing. The only thing I do know is we have the best crew across the entire country, so we can do the best work that is out there. Like, we're a go-to because of that. It has nothing to do with sales and marketing. But I think I tend to discount that a little bit. There is some relationship building that goes on, and you've proven that since your time at Wescom and even before then. How do you keep your authenticity that you actually care about the individual at the mine or the shipyard or the railroad, that you actually care about their weekend and you're not just using that as an avenue to the sale?
Yeah, and that's something, as my boss and CEO is sitting here, I don't know if you'd like to hear it. I
want to know.
I will never ask for a PO, and that's something I promise to all my clients. You will never find me walking in saying, hey, we want to get this order for this. Hey, I need a PO for this. Where's this at? When the time comes where I take that authenticity out and stop, showing any, I want you to believe that I'm here to say, how's Shane today? How's your family doing? If that ever goes away and you feel that, hey, I'm out here to just get orders, that's the time that I'll say, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. I want to come across as the person that I do care. I want you to text me and say, hey, we had a new son today. Hey, we had a new child. We're going here. Hey, here's a picture from our trip. I want that. And it starts with coming in, and my first couple visits, it's sitting down with the electric shop guys, sitting and having breakfast with them and just getting to know them. And you'll never hear me say, hey, I'm here with Wescom. I want to sit down to talk to you about projects going on today. It's no, hey, how many guys are here today? How many guys do you have at your facility? What do you guys do? What do you guys like to do on the outside of work? It's getting to know them, and it'll be weeks, months, years of just getting to know the individual before a lot of times any business even comes of it.
Yeah, and I think it's important that when we do that, when we're getting to know people on that sense, that actually helps you define what their needs are going to be, right? And that's maybe where we get sales and marketing wrong as business people is we think, we need the flashy brochure, we need the flashy car, we need something to attract people to us. But the reality is what you need to do is sit down and figure out who you're dealing with, because as we've noticed, whether you're dealing with the local bakery shop or the mine or the shipyard or the coal docks, whatever it would be, each one of those people has a different need, right? The shipping industry might need more automation techs, whereas the mine might just need the ability for you to flex and add 20 people during their annual shutdown. But if you don't sit down and visit with those people, how do you know what their real need is?
Yeah. And going back to your previous comment too, I will never represent a company where I do not believe in the product and service they do. There's people that, just go sell a piece of paper. Okay, it's paper. But when it comes to Wescom, you got to believe in the products and services you sell. And all my history with different organizations, I always still stand by the products and services they represent. And that being said, when I started with Wescom, there's plenty of clients that over 10 years I had a very positive relationship with. And I'd like to think, and they have told me that when I go in there to say, hey, here's who Wescom is, they believe me in it. They believe me in the products. They know that, hey, here's Clayton. He believes in the products and services that Wescom represents. And, there's no hesitation on, hey, tell me about your crew.
Have you ever been disappointed by the company you're working for?
No.
Through that? Never?
No.
What about, what makes it so easy for you to go in with confidence that Wescom will do what you're selling?
Yeah, I think going in with the confidence, but also sometimes the frustration of what sells Wescom is the people. And it's very easy to speak about Andrew Paulson, our automation tech, going into a facility. Hey, you guys got to meet Andrew. This guy's just stellar. Hey, you got to meet Tyler Bruckelmeyer, who heads up our electric shop. And it's the people that, with most of our projects, we go in once. As I tell people, there's 99.9% chance we're going to be back here in a few weeks. Without me even doing anything, you're going to experience what our team offers, our services, our capabilities, and the type of people we have. And that is really what sells it. And that's also the frustrating part of, I'll go into places, I'll see some of these frustrations they're having, or, yep, we're set with ABC company, and this is who we've used for years. And I want to be like, but you guys don't have Tyler. You don't have Andrew. You don't have a Shane. You don't have Calvin. That's the frustration of of the time it takes to develop these relationships, but that's also the easiest part to sell. It's once our clients and customers, our industries experience these people, it's easy to just say, here we are.
Yeah, but Clayton, tell me about those people. What sets Andrew and Tyler and Shane Sunberg and Calvin? What's setting them apart that makes you so like excited to have them show up on a client's location?
I can use any of our automation guys, whether it be Calvin, Andrew, Joel, anyone in our automation department. When a client calls or when I, market their services, it's not a one-stop shop and done. These guys are genuinely interested in, if we do a project and do a quote, whatever it may be, whether it's an hour service call or a 2,000-hour project, it doesn't stop at the end of the project. And it's, hey, Calvin, we should give those guys a call. Oh, I already did that. Okay, great. It's the drive and passion for these guys to make sure everything goes smooth, puts a good name on Wescom, puts a good name on their self, and really they genuinely care about the facility, where a lot of times we have other electrical contractors here in town that you don't know who you're going to get, and they have a service call, and in comes Joe Smith, and he's never been to that facility before. Hey, I'm here to fix a light, and off he goes, and he's done, and that's it. We'll send you the invoice. With Westcom, it's, okay, we want a guy that come in here that knows your facility, understands your operations, understands your needs. And they come in, they take care of the project, they leave, and then a couple hours later, they're getting a phone call. Hey, is everything still running well? We recently did a big project over at Midwest Energy and over on their ship loader system. Every time I drive by and I see the ship loader down, every time Calvin drives by, sees the ship loader down, Andrew, any of the guys that work on it, we want to make sure that's still moving. We're always looking at what have we done, what are we going to be doing, and make sure anything we have is taken care of on the service end of things.
It's interesting that you say like that dedication to the client. And we recently had a service call come in from a client, and the individual who had done the project wasn't available that day. So I was thinking, well, I went and found another person like, hey, would you mind running down here and taking care of this? And they said I would, but I'll get in on a lot of heat because that's actually so-and-so's like that's their job, and that's how much ownership these guys are taking into it. If they went and did the install, they want to be the one that goes back every time. And I think that's one thing that I find exciting when I'm sitting down with a client, is that's what they appreciate, is that we're not coming and spending 8 hours to learn their facility every time to do a 3-hour service call. It's the same crew, same people every time, and the expectation is just there that they're the best of the best, and they always prove it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing on the electrical side. Don't you feel that we got a pretty dang good crew that kills it every time we send them out?
Yep. No, and I did a cold call to a client the other day, and when I was talking to him, it was a client that very dirty environment, a lot of heat, and talking with them, I said, when you call Westcom, you're going to get a guy that just came from North Shore Mine that's covered in black taconite head to toe, hot, dirty environment. This is the people we have. You're not going to get a person that just got done installing a light at a local restaurant. It's those people that can relate and understand that, yep, every day I'm putting my work boots on, I'm putting my FR gear on, my hands are going to get dirty, and I'm going to work hard for my job.
And not only do they understand that, but it's almost like they take pride. Yeah. So last night we had our monthly safety committee meeting, and one of our safety committee members works up at the mine, and it's at a 6:00 time, so that way everyone can be done at the day and they get compensated to stay late and whatever. Normally he joins a call from his house. Well, he joined it from the mine trailer because he had just gotten done, and he's covered, just black, and I mean to the point where our oil field employees who are also dialing into the call are like, "Whoa, Warren, what's going on with you?" And you can just see the pride in him when he's like, "I'll tell you what's going on. We just got done pulling in some huge wire and getting the project done that wasn't supposed to be done until tomorrow afternoon."
Yep.
And it's like it's a pride thing, and he's excited. He's not upset that he's dirty. This is what he loves to do. So what actually attracts you? You talked about the restaurant and the lighting there, and I know we've sat in a lot of meetings together, Clayton, and we talk about, are we industrial, are we commercial, are we residential? There's a big difference between those three things, right? What fundamentally drives you about the industry and the industrial blue collar thing versus the commercial projects?
I think you just said the heavy blue collar. It's going in, as I mentioned earlier, sitting in the electric shop with these guys. They all have their steel-toed boots on. They're just hardworking, dedicated, not afraid to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, I've always had a passion for that. And, to your last comment, I remember a few years back when I was working for electrical distributor, we had a manufacturer rep come in, and they were coming in from the Twin Cities. And we were going out to one of the ore docks over in Superior. And they came in, and he shows up dressed very light khaki pants, white shirt, and we're going to go over and look at some equipment over there. And I just said, with all respect, what are you wearing? And he didn't have the steel-toe boots, didn't have a hard hat with him. And I said, I told you we're going to a facility that it's going to get dirty. Oh, I'll be fine. And we went over and looked at the application we were having an issue with. And he said, well, why do we need this equipment in here? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, no one works in this environment, do they? And I said, yes. I said, guys are here 24/7 working in this part of the facility. I said, this is who we are. This is what you got to get used to. And he did come out just black. And his floor mats were stained to this day. They're still stained with taconite. But, there's those type of people that, okay, you know what, I like being behind the desk. I like my dress clothes. But for me, I want to get the hands dirty. I want to be in an environment where guys work very hard for a living, and it's...
Yeah, and I think one thing that attracts me about that, one of our core values of building customers for life, when we've talked about the industrial world, you're dealing with people who are in it for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of value conversation. Of course, we have to have the conversation about our hourly rates and bid prices and all of this stuff, right? But it's when we have that 2-hour long conference call the other day with a major client, and they're talking about, value proposition, and they're asking questions like, how do you guys feel about your final number? Are you proud of your final number, like where we're both going to walk away with a firm handshake? That's what attracts me to that industrial space, is that people want the relationships, right? So
Yeah.
Clayton, that's your favorite thing to do, is build
Yeah.
relationships. That's exactly what these people want.
Yeah.
They plan to be at the mine for the next 20 years. In fact, one of the first people that you introduced me to when you came to our team was a gentleman that worked over at a local coal dock. And how many years have we heard about coal dying in this country?
Yeah.
I think, what did he work there, 43 years?
Yep, going on 43.
This gentleman worked there for 43 years, and he didn't even look like he was 43, in the worst industry, supposedly, right, in the country, and it's been dying for the last 43 years of his career. And he, from what I understand, is either retired or getting
Yep.
close to retirement, and he retired from the coal industry, the same industry that was supposed to be dead forever. So as we look forward and we hear about this huge energy transition, right, that you got to move away from fossil fuels into renewable. And we've had a lot of conversation at Wescom. How do we embrace this? How are we going to challenge ourselves to do it? That always is just like the coolest reminder to me that, hey, wait a second, coal was supposed to be dead when Obama was in office,
Yeah.
right? And probably even before then, it was supposed to be dead.
Yep.
But it's still, to this day, we just got done doing a project there. What, did Calvin do a water treatment
Water
program?
treatment upgrade, yep.
The other day over there, right? I don't know, $40,000-$50,000 project that they wouldn't be investing that if there wasn't still coal coming from Wyoming that needed to get shipped through the Great Lakes, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about oil and gas going away, certainly it's going to change, and certainly renewables are going to be a bigger space. But it's exciting to me that we have these examples in our own town about what that looks like. We don't see oil and gas going away ever completely.
Yeah.
But when you talk about, it's easy to sit here and talk about our successes, right?
Yeah.
But there's some long days in sales.
Yeah.
And we actually had a conversation yesterday with our solar specialist about, don't get too caught up in a close ratio, because one, how do you even define a close ratio anyways, right? And we got to stick to our mission of energizing America. This isn't about how many solar projects did we do, or that wasn't the intent. The intent is to safely energize America. How do you keep yourself motivated in between, what was that, Tuesday? We had the awesome call in the afternoon on that huge project that sounds like is ours. How do you keep your mojo from there to, say, 6 months ago, when you and I are walking up on the hill and we're going, who are we going to go approach? We need some work.
Yeah, and that is the challenge with the B2B. It's the time, when I first started talking to you, and going back to our previous conversation of when we first met, I remember the first conversation you had with me is, I doubt you want to work for free, but I'd be interested if you want to work for no paycheck.
Yeah.
And it takes time. And okay, at what point do we start the processes? And with B2B, it's that relationship building is where it's going to be. And when I first started talking to you, when I first brought on board, I said, yep, it's going to be a year or two before we even start seeing any sales. It's a long process. And once you have that mindset, then it's a lot easier. But it still is, you with B2B, you have a lot of highs and lows. It's, hey, I think we're going to get this project. And, where the business to business projects, especially in the industrial that we deal with, we choose, I'll say we have a very close group of clients that we work with. As we build customers for life, we're looking for those clients that are going to be with us for the long haul. We're going to be with them. And it's not hey, we want your PO, we want to do this project and be done with you. So we have a very close group of clients. And when we bid a project for them and we think we're going to get it, it is a challenge where a couple of years ago we had a mining client that hey, we're going to get this project, and everyone is excited. And then they said, hey, we got COVID, we got issues with the industry, and we're not going to do this project with you. And you go from a high of everyone hooping and hollering to nothing.
And that project was our largest automation project ever, programming,
Yep.
a singular project, a huge project for Calvin and his team, massive win. Like, we bid it.
Yep.
Got interviewed, had to prove that we could get the job done. We get the email, we're going to do this. I mean, you're right. There was hooping and hollering.
It was a 2x6 in the face when they said, by the way, we're not going to do this project, and we'll talk to you in the future if it happens.
And not only that, Clayton, it was at that time where they weren't the only one calling us.
No.
I think that was the same month we had to lay off 30 people in North Dakota, right? Like, the industry was crashing.
Yeah.
And so you went from this high to this low, and then somehow you got to keep your mojo. Because I think maybe you took a couple weeks off during COVID. Other than that, you kept rolling.
Yeah, and that's the challenge of being. One of the things I will say I hate about being a salesman is being a salesman. I mean, you get that stigma of, oh, he's a salesman. Here they come, and that's the challenge of going back to building that relationship. But that's also a challenge too, I'll say, internally. Everyone sees you as a salesman, and it's when COVID hit, I got the panel shop coming in, hey, Clayton, we need work. Hey, I got the electricians, hey, Clayton, we need work. Automation group, hey, Clayton, we need work. I mean, it's a huge team effort, and our team is what sells it, but you get this pressure on you of, okay, when times are down, what are you going to do? And there's a lot of pressure to figure out what's going on. But
and you're not selling widgets, so it's not like you can all of a sudden just discount the widgets by 10% and get the business. There was no business.
How do this client has no budget now, how do I sell my $500,000 project? Well, guys, we're Wescom, so you should buy it anyways. But that's the challenge of that business is how do you, the highs and the lows of, it's a challenge, and you got to be understanding and know that there's going to be times coming where, you're going to be doing great. You're going to get those POs for $1 million in a week, and then the next week, 2 weeks, you're not going to see anything because their budget got cut, or, hey, we decided to go a different path and we had to cut this project by a third.
Yeah.
But
I think that's one of the things about the sales that intrigues me. Like, if you're actually out, and this is what I was driving at in yesterday's conversation in our sales meeting that we had with Solar, if we set these lofty goals about closing X amount of house deals, right, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure because it's like this made up number that you have to go achieve. But if you're set out to build a customer for life, that terminology for life indicates this is a long game, right? So you're not looking for such a short win.
Yeah.
The expectation is we understand that you're going to have to go bang on doors. I was relating to a different employee yesterday that there's a particular client out in the Bakken that someday will be one of our biggest clients, and I will hold that until they are.
Yep.
My first correspondence with them was September 1st of 2019.
Yeah.
And I have texted and called him every other month for going on, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
So, you obviously have to have some way to keep yourself going. And one of the things I use for just Shane is, like, don't rely on, sometimes you got to look back at the progress and let that motivate you,
Yep.
right? Because you have these massive low periods where you're just like, is this phone ever going to ring? What is Clayton actually doing? He tells me he's stopped by at that place 15 times. Why haven't we gotten a contract yet? But then you look back and you're like, that's right. Actually, a very large client of ours right now is a client that we worked with for a good year on small projects, one after another, and now we're possibly doing $1 million projects plus for them at once. That you have to somehow even that low out, and obviously you're an optimist, right? That's got to help.
Yeah. And the client that you speak of that, took a year and now we're doing multi-million-dollar projects with them. It's, I remember when we first started with that, we had one employee that did go to that company, and it started with, okay, here's one person you can call. Okay, great. And it's a nationwide, oil company, and it's, okay, we'll call John over in Michigan. Who do I talk to next? And you get that phone call. Well, try so-and-so. Try Mary. Try Tim. And next thing you know, you've called 20 people, and you're still feeling, okay, I haven't got anywhere. And then you stop by the stations and, hey, give them a calendar and a hat, just so you hope that the regional manager stops by and asks, hey, why is there a Wescom calendar? Who are they? And it's so much time of trying to track down the right person, and then right when you think you got momentum, so-and-so retired, and then you're back to square one. And that's the challenge, and that's kind of the thrill I get to. It's, okay, how do I find this person? Who do I track down? And then when you make that contact with, yep, I'm in charge of the entire Great Lakes region. All right, hey, finally we're getting somewhere. But then they tell you, oh, by the way, we have a person we've used for the last 20 years. Oh, so it's the highs and lows, but that's what excites me of trying to track down and find out, hey, how can we get there?
Yeah.
And then once we find the right people on that client, for example, they say, okay, we're going to start small. We'll give you a low $30,000 project. And I think Tyler was one of the first ones to go there. They called me back. They're like, hey, you get that phone call after the first time. I want to bug Tyler, but text him every 5 minutes. How's it going, Tyler? How's it going? And then you get the phone call from the client that says, hey, we want this guy back here every time. And that's the part that once, as I mentioned earlier, once we're in there, our team and our capabilities and the morale that we offer, it's what sells Wescom.
Yeah, my mind was just racing around this morning on my way over here to do the podcast that, I don't want to give away trade secrets. And then I'm laughing to myself thinking there is no trade secret here, right? Like the sales, it shocks me that some people will hire a consultant to come in and tell them how to sell. And there's all these processes you must follow. And I've just never found that. So when people ask me, like, how do you grow your business? How do you find the clients? I'm always kind of dumbfounded. Like, I have no idea, actually. But I know I'm not keeping any secrets because there is no secret. Be kind, care, be genuine, and do what you say you're going to do. And the $30,000 client turns into, I think that we potentially have over 10% of our revenue for 2022 booked in the form of like either POs like supposedly coming or already in hand with that one client that started out as a $30,000 client, right? It's a long game. What do you think most people struggle with when they think about sales?
Yeah, I think there's two things. It's one, the expectations that you're going to get a PO right away. It's, hey, I got to get a sale. I got to get a sale. I think that's a struggle. You got to understand, especially in B2B, it's not going to happen overnight. Then two, it's that relationship. You got to build a relationship. It's not, again, going to the PO, really.
So do you think that's hard for people to build relationships?
I think depending on the clientele, especially I'll look at like the industrial market. I've seen plenty of people come and go that you see them walk through the door, you see their interaction, and I can tell you they're not going to make it in the industrial market. It's I used to cover a paper mill out western part of Minnesota, and I remember walking in one day, and the guy's name was Joe. He's no longer there, but he managed all the electrical mechanical side for the mill. And very good relationship with him. Loved going there, just chatting with him. He's the type that he'd send me pictures of the fish he caught on a Saturday. That's what I want. And I remember he said, "Oh, by the way, I can only meet with you for a few minutes today. I was doing my rounds." He said, "I got a guy coming in at 9:00 to see me. He wants to try to sell me something." Okay. And the guy came in, And the guy walked down to Joe and he said, "Hey, I'm here to meet with Joe." And Joe said, "Sorry, he had to leave today. He's not available." And the guy was kind of, "Well, what the heck? I drove 2 hours to meet with you, and what's going on?" And so he said, "Oh yeah, he had to run out. And so he left, and I said, "What was the deal with that?" And he goes, "If I can see my face in your shoes when you come to a paper mill," he said, "I can just tell by your presence and how you came in and talked that you won't be a good fit for our mill." And I was like, "Ooh, that was harsh, but then I thought, okay, great. Hey, I'm still talking to you
Yeah.
6 years later." So I think there's a certain type of person that really does need to fit in the market that we are in. To go sit with, I was down at the ore docks here yesterday, sat with the electric shop for an hour, chatting with those guys. I mean, you got to have a certain type of relationship with that.
Well, to that point, we had a meeting recently. So this large automation project we talked about with the PO the project was awarded. The PO was supposed to be coming, then COVID hit and the project got pulled. Well, fast forward, the project did eventually happen.
Yeah.
They reached back out to us after COVID recovered and the mine restarted. They reached back out to us. We did phase 1, killed it. Kelvin and
Yeah.
his team just did a phenomenal job up there. And then all of a sudden they want phase 2, right? So we go up, we rebid phase 2, or not rebid, but we give a proposal for phase 2. And same thing, they want to do an interview and sit down with us and make sure we understand the scope of the project, that we can actually accomplish it.
Yeah.
So a team of us go up to that interview and we're sitting around the conference table. And it just struck me when I sat down that around me is the best team. This makes this easy. We don't even have to sit down and start talking about, we're going to give you this, this, and this, and this, and this, and we're going to color it, and we're going to put stars all over. We're just all a bunch of real people, and so are they, and there's no selling that's happening, right? It's just talking about this project and how we would accomplish it, and possibly you want to use us based on that. If you don't, that's okay too. And what do we find out? That project is hopefully coming our ways as well in the form of a PO here in the next couple of weeks. But I think just understanding that when you're sitting down with a client, that industrial clients don't want you to come in, and they don't need Clayton to come in and tell them what they should do.
Yeah.
They need Clayton to come in and understand what they actually do, and then think creatively about how to help them accomplish those things. Whereas in the B2C world, oftentimes you're trying to convince a consumer that you want this specific water because it's clearer than the water next door, on the shelf, and plus we're 10 cents cheaper. It's not that way in the industrial world, ever.
Yeah, no, and that's where I'll say, I went to school down in the Twin Cities, and I worked with a lot of companies down there during my time in schooling and internships. I would get my butt kicked down there right now. There's the suit, the tie, the different type of industry down there. I couldn't do it. This is as dressy as I really get. And I want the jeans on, the steel-toed boots, and a sweatshirt. I want to be out at the end of an ore dock at 30 below talking to the guys.
Well, frankly, that's what's fun anyways, right? Yeah, if you're defining your job based on your dress code, what an awful thing.
Yeah.
We just know that if we got to go have a meeting at the coal dock, that's what you got to be wearing, and it literally does happen. I think the first time you brought me to the dock, I don't remember what the temperature was, Clayton, but it was cold, and I'm still holding that against you.
Yeah. So no, I think that's what drives me. But that's also there's different. There's times where we'll meet with Minnesota Power, and you gotta put the dress slacks on every now and then. But it's who we are up here, especially in northern Minnesota, that really drives my passion for the industry and our clients and that relationship building.
Yeah. So we've talked about the big challenges of doing industrial work. How do you know when a client is a fit or when they're not? And have you ever experienced it, or has Wescom ever experienced it?
Yeah. I think when you meet with these clients, depending on who you're going to deal with, there are times where we have said, you know what, you're a great company, you're a great organization, we hear great things about you, but we don't know if you're going to be a good fit for us. Where we really excel is that when we can deal with that end user, and I can call you up, say, hey, you know what, Calvin's going to be down there at 2 o'clock. We got a question on this. We can get answers right away. Where there's other companies, a lot of the big corporate companies where, yes, they're in their industry. Yes, we could cover all the services they offer, but the way they might run their procedures or their policies and interaction requirements, hey, you need to call this person first before you can even talk to anyone in the field. Those are the clients where you go, okay, you know what? How much work and effort is going to go into this for our guys? Is it a good fit? It's, again, Wescom is capable of doing anything. I mean, anything we set our mind to, we'll come up with a solution for you. But it's how other companies might require to do business with you might impact on, okay, you know what, it doesn't quite line up with our normal way of doing business.
And so when you've had to be part of those conversations, is Wescom different than other people as to how we approach that? Like, I know we're heavily sensitive about, I don't want to ever have our team go work on a location that doesn't care about safety, right? We just had, 1 million hours without a recordable incident. It's important to me that we're working for folks who also care about safety. Otherwise, I'm just preaching something I don't believe in, right? So I know we talk about safety aspects of our clients and their requirements. We talk about wanting to make sure that we're dealing with the end user. But in those conversations that you have, is Wescom approaching it differently than your other employers or than the way your other fellow salesmen look at things?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think our culture, the creating customers for life, serving with integrity, those, when I talk about our 4 core values with our clients, it does set us apart of, we're here for that relationship and just starting off right there. That this has nothing to do with services we're going to offer you today. It's all about the relationship, serving with integrity, those aspects, creating opportunities for our own employees and for our clients. That's what really drives, I think, our business with our end users.
And so it's obviously awkward on a podcast for you to admit if we suck at this, but do we sometimes make that decision too quickly that somebody fits or doesn't fit? Or are we truly holding up who we say we are?
I think we do truly hold up to who we are. And I mean, I think there's times where, especially I'll say in the sales marketing where I chase after a client for, a year, 2 years, and all of a sudden we get a proposal in, an RFQ, and we discuss it as a team and go, yeah, we don't want to bid this. I'm like, oh,
and you got to go back to your
office. I got to go back, and it's like, okay, let's just spend a year and a half, 2 years chasing these guys, and we'll have to say no. But on the other hand, where I think Wescom sets apart is, you look at a lot of these bigger electrical automation companies, they get RFQ, they're going to bid it. Hey, yep, we'll bid it. And then after they get it, it's how are we going to make this work? Where when we look at bids, when we look at our clients, we look at, okay, can we serve them, to the best of our abilities? Are we going to be able to offer them top-notch service? Can we commit that we have guys dedicated to that facility and we're not going to be changing up our team, our crews? And that part, I think, really sets us apart on when we commit to a client, when we say, yes, we do want to bid this for you, we've thought about it. And it's not just we got an RFQ in and we're going to bid it. We had a good discussion in our office and, we're here to provide a service.
Well, and it's like when we had to answer that question from the client the other day that, do you feel good about your number or how confident, maybe it was how confident are you in your proposal? And I think we told them that. And there was a team of folks from this client, from Houston and all over the country on the call, like, hey, listen, guys, we bid this. We priced in the risk, knowing what kind of a client this is and what kind of a project it is. We encompassed all that. We have some good experience with you. This is a price that when we're done, we can both shake each other's hands and walk away feeling good about it, right? The client can feel good about it, and so can Wescom. Because, yes, we do expect to make money on our projects. Newsflash, right? We do expect to make money. We also expect that the client recognizes incredible value through that experience. And when the client understands that piece, that they really want good value from it, and we may not be the cheapest, but we have the best safety record, we have the best crews, and we're going to stand behind what we say, that's when it feels like it's a win-win. And I know that it can be challenging. I think for me as a CEO, it's really hard to look at our sales guy who we trust and believe in and say that this client isn't a fit. And so I really try and, and I think our leadership team does a good job of this. We try and really noodle it. Like the one client that is coming to mind that we kicked out per se, we answered 4 or 5 different RFQs, and they were coming in like daily one after another. And then we would try and get feedback on the price, and they'd be like, yeah, you were like number 3, but we actually sent it to the auction block, and, people outbid you. And you're like, what do you mean auction block? And I think we're the kind of company that looks at it and says, we believe too much in Tyler. We care too much about Calvin. We think too highly of Andrew to send them out on a project and have them be abused. Like, auction off your employee services? No, thank you.
Yeah.
We're not an auction house.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's where I'll say I think I judge, okay, how am I doing in my job? How am I as my career looks when I can go to a client and say, here's our proposal, and it's not the price that's the first topic of conversation. It's, okay, we know what you guys can offer, and it's a discussion about the services, and it's, up at the mine the other day, it was just, okay, how are you guys going to do this work? I mean, there was no discussion on, okay, where are you guys at on this price? We need you guys to come down. With a lot of these facilities, production costs per hour, when we provide a proposal for $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, and they're going to argue over $200,000, okay, what's your production cost per hour? Wescom, we get things done on time. A recent project we did for one of the oil companies, we're one of the only contractors to start up on the date that they wanted. The last 3 years, they've been struggling getting those dates put together and not accomplish it on time. Okay, when the last contractor was 2 months late, 3 months late, what was that production cost for you? Is that worth paying an extra $100,000, $200,000 on a proposal to get it done? So once our clients really see that value and, okay, I can trust Wescom, they truly believe in our facility, they want to be part of our operations, that's when price is out and it's, okay, Wescom, what do you guys think about this?
Well, and I think that it's important to understand that our clients are definitely price sensitive, right? We have to give a good proposal that we both feel good about. And the way that I can sit down across from a client with you and with Calvin or Tyler or John or whoever and confidently answer the question that, are you going to be able to pull this off, is because I know we have the best team. And in order to have the best team, here's another news flash for folks, is you got to pay them well.
Yeah.
Right? And so in order for us to have the best team, we're probably not going to be your cheapest client, your cheapest vendor. But what we are going to do is be the one with the most integrity and the one that's on schedule.
Yeah.
And that revenue loss, say if you're in the mining industry or the shipping, the transportation industry, whether you're talking about the railroad or the shipyards, or you're talking about, paper mills, or in the beloved oil and gas industry, they all understand that revenue loss conversation very easily, right? And so they're looking for folks who can get out there and get the job done. So I would tell people that are wondering, like, how can I do better on my sales and marketing strategy? Spend a lot of time internally. Spend time looking at your crews and making sure that you're compensating them very well, you're believing in them, and you're showing them that you care. Because if you take every single opportunity that comes your way and you're sending that crew out to a customer A who is just not a fun customer to work for, that crew's going to leave. And then how are you going to get to customer B who actually is the one you want to work for? You have to be willing to let some of these opportunities go by your desk, as hard as it is to do it. But I feel like if you care enough about your team, you don't let yourself get caught up into the money conversation. It's like not allowed in our office. I don't know. Am I lying when I say that?
No, and I think what we're talking about yesterday too, on looking at the upcoming year and the schedule, I look at, okay, when I first started 3 years ago, we didn't do anything in the shipping industry really. That's kind of new to us. Now look where we're at in the port. I mean, we got 4 or 5 clients now here this upcoming year that all of a sudden it's growing quick, and now we're becoming, hey, Wescom is the electrical automation team for the shipping material handling, and it goes all back to the service and capabilities. When I go to ABC company out in the port and I just say, you know what, when they first talk about rates, hey, what's your rate for an automation specialist? I said, I can get that for you, but let me tell you first, when Calvin comes on site, Calvin's one of these guys. My phrase with Calvin is, I said, he's kind of one of those scary guys. He's scary smart. Like, he's the guy in the corner that's quiet, and you're like, just let him work. And it's, next thing you know, Calvin's, hey, I got it done for you. I mean, it's the amount of knowledge in the office trumps any hourly rate, any project costs. It's, these guys care about your facility, and they're going to know it and figure it out.
Yeah. So do you see yourself staying in sales forever?
I do. There's always, I've had job offers in the past
Yeah.
of, hey, we'd like you to manage this branch, this election. Okay, what's my job? Well, you'll sit in the office and manage these people. No, nope, I'm out. I want to have that interaction, and I always, yeah,
But what is the thing that sometimes causes you? Because like for me, I absolutely love my job, and I always said I
yeah,
was going to retire when I was
yeah,
40, and unfortunately, that's right around the corner. And all of a sudden, I realized I love my job. I
yeah,
never want to retire, and I
yeah,
make the comment around the office that you guys will be wheeling me out of the office in the hospice bed. Like, get
yeah.
that guy out of here. We don't want a death in the office. But what is the one thing that sometimes just like, man, I hate this.
I'll
And if
say.
it's Shane, that's okay.
No, Shane's only number two. I'll say the last year or two, there's a thing out there called COVID. I don't know if you've heard much about it, but I'll say that's been a struggle because, for a year there, every door's locked. And it's just, the part that I love so much about my job of going out, just walking in these doors, sitting down with people and chatting, it's been out, and it's opening up more, but it's still, you got to be a little cautious with where you go, who you're talking to. But that was a big challenge. And all of a sudden I went from that to, okay, door's locked. Now I got to sit in the office, and send out that email. And I'm not an email person. I want to come across as a guy that wants to get to know you. I care about you, and how do you put that in an email? And
Yeah.
that has been a struggle. As long as I'm out in the field, I'm feeling good. But it's when you get behind the desk, or there's times where earlier this spring there was so much going on that it's tough to get out, and then you're behind the desk and it's a struggle. I want to be out there. You see, we always joke about Paul in the office mowing the lawn. I want to be out there. I want to be outside this window right now doing something. But
Yeah, we're sitting in the conference room in a stressful meeting trying to figure out how we're going to get a project done. And vroom, there goes
yeah,
Paul on his little riding
yep,
mower
yep,
and wee whipping.
living
And
the dream.
yeah.
So I think that's always been, the last couple of years, that's been the struggle of, okay, how do I overcome COVID? How do I overcome getting away from the desk, taking care of things, and being out there?
Well, because when you're successful, like you have, Clayton, it's a double-edged sword because you go out and you build these cool relationships, and you kind of got to build like 30 at a time
Yeah.
because they take 3 years to build.
Yep.
And out of those 30 that are built, there might be 5 people that call, right?
Yeah.
But there could be 10. And if there's 10, all of a sudden you're so busy in the office
Yep.
just trying to keep up with it to make sure production is happening.
Yeah.
You kind of get caught up in this like, whoa, that was really cool. I had an awesome run, but this isn't what I wanted my end game to be. I
Yeah.
still want to be out talking.
Yep.
And it's hard as a business to know what the right mix of
Yeah.
all of that is, right? And I think that's my biggest challenge too, is that just controlling the craziness around
Yeah.
you. Like, there's nothing we can do about COVID.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So we had to get super creative, like talk about podcasts.
Yeah.
That's one way we can continue to reach out to our clients
Yeah.
without reaching out to them, but they can stay close to who we are.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
YouTube, like, since when is this a conversation in an industrial world?
Yeah.
But we also have to acknowledge our clientele. They're still hardworking, blue-collar, awesome people that like to hunt, fish, camp,
Yep.
raise kids, go to Christmas concerts, and be the best people in the community that they can.
Yeah.
That's the coolest part about our job, is we get so ingrained in the communities and these people that we work with, internally and externally. Best people you could ever find. But we have to acknowledge that the new plant manager, the up-and-coming plant manager that's going to replace the 65-year-old retiree is like 28 years old, and he grew up with LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yep.
And guess what? If you're not on there, if he can't find you, because if he's anything like me, when Haley says, hey, Bob would like to set up a meeting with you, please call him.
Yeah.
The very first thing I do is Google search and LinkedIn search and Facebook them, right? I mean, even prospective employees, we do that.
Yeah.
So we have to acknowledge that that's part of the relationship building that is
Yeah.
going to be part of who we are going forward.
Yeah.
But it's not so easy, because that's
It's
not who we are.
And starting out in Duluth, that was kind of the challenge of who is Wescom. And the great part of when we did the startup, when I came on board, is we had the team, the panel experience, the prefab experience, the electrical experience, the mechanical, to back everything up. So when I'd go to customers and say, hey, we have a panel shop, by the way, we've made almost 1,000 panels this past year. I mean, it says something. But you're a whole new environment that's already been established. How do you get the name out there? And it's all about the logo. And, okay, people need to see the Wescom everywhere. And, we did the billboards, we did the website redesign. It's okay. Everywhere we turn, we want Wescom out there. It's kind of a double-edged sword. A lot of times I'll stop in a gas station and I'll have someone, so who is Wescom? And I get that all the time.
Isn't that the coolest question
and
ever?
it's a good question, and for me it's a bad question. It's like, oh, you don't know who Wescom is? I'm not doing my job. But on the other hand, it's like he's seeing Wescom everywhere. And who are you guys? So
I hope we're always a little bit secretive.
yeah, and I think there is that secrecy of, we see you guys driving everywhere, we see the buildings, we see who are you guys? So I think when I'm getting those questions every time I stop for gas, it shows that we're doing something. We're getting out there, people are noticing us, and we're going somewhere, and continue to grow.
Well, I think, Clayton, to wrap up, we got to have more conversations like this, because there's an entire country out there who might be stuck in their careers or wondering how to get energy in it. You're an energetic guy. They need you. There's folks out there wondering how in the world they break into their markets. You've done an incredible job for Wescom over the last 3 years. We didn't have a presence in the Twin Ports. Now at our Christmas party, I think we almost had more people in Duluth than we did at our other outer locations, between the Bakken and New Mexico. We're a going concern in Duluth, and it's been an absolute hoot of a time to get to know you and work through. But just overall, folks need to understand that if you can survive in the industrial market through the era of COVID, you're probably somebody that you want to pay attention to. Yeah. And that's who Clayton is. You pulled us through that COVID era. We're recognizing the fruits of that work, and I think there's a lot more that we can teach other folks around us about sales and marketing. And I just really appreciate the conversation. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you.